Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we have a balance update for v0.6.5. My recording just messed up, so I'm giving this a go again. To drop a like, drop an F in the comments down below. Let's go ahead and read through this again. So as we gear up towards the v0.7 content patch, we're tiding you over with a slightly smaller balance patch, this time decreasing the damage values of some mage, assassin, and bruiser itemization to push back the raw strength of their early item spikes. The aim here is to decrease the snowball potential of non-ADC roles while helping push towards our larger and more long-term TTK goals. We've also been keenly listening to your feedback, powering up FaZe, who didn't quite stick the landing when she was introduced last week. Grux is also getting some help, this time to his mid to late game potential. He may have thick skin, but the Rhino definitely needs a little love, and yes, this is true. Looking beyond this week, however, we're excited to say that v0.7 patch we mentioned just moments ago is coming along very well. We can't wait to share it with you in a couple weeks. Things could still change depending on how swamped we are, but right now we are hoping to lace it with some very big changes that'll help us push further towards those TTK goals. Watch this space. Thank you as always for your ongoing support. Have a lovely week. So Blood Mortius, big shout outs to you. New skins, we got the common for both Red Death, Kalari, and Siege Breaker Crunch, which I think are both pretty cool looking recolors, and replay improvements, which I'm not going to go over. You can definitely take a look at these in the patch notes if this is something relevant to you. Balance changes. Grux. I'm actually not going to read the little paragraphs. Actually, no, I will. It's fine. As mentioned already, we're giving the Rhino some love this week, buffing his passive to help keep the bleed relevant, even in the later stages of the game, which until now has become especially unnoticeable when your opponents start to pick up more sustain. We're also pumping up his double pain a bit to help him retain some laning strength against matchups that he really should be winning. There's at Severok. So Bloodlust base damage increase from 5+2 per level to 5+3 per level. Double pain base damage increase from 10, 30, 50, 70, 90 to 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, with Crush Bone physical power scaling decreased from 80% to 70%. So losing 10% physical power scaling on Crush, but gaining a little bit more damage in the passive, with the +2 per level going up to +3, and then a little bit more base damage. So I think it's a pretty marginal change, but we'll see what the implications of it are. I think it's just going to help him a little bit, but it's not going to change too much, I don't think. Howitzer continues to be a problem in the current meta, so we're going to be a problem to him. We're continuing to target his damage potential, particularly his slow grenade, helping decrease his zone potential and lower his reliability. He can poke, or how reliably he can poke from a distance. So slow grenade base damage decreased from 30, 60, 90, 120, 150 to 30, 50, 70, 90, 110. So a pretty big fall off toward the later rank ups of the ability, 150 down to 110 at the later stage. And then slow grenade secondary grenade damage decreased from 6, 12, 18, 24, 30 to 6, 10, 14, 18, 22. And so second damage grenade going down a pretty good amount as well. So less oppression from Howitzer. I think that's going to help bring him in line a little bit. So it's no big secret that FaZe has struggled a little bit since her release, so we're lending her a hand in the early laning phase with some base damage bumps and uptime changes for her Energy Lance ability. We'll be looking into further changes for her down the road, but they'll require more testing that we could squeeze in ahead of this balance pass, so you can expect those in a slightly later date. A couple bug fixes where Energy Lance was proccing Mutilator, fixing an issue where the blind of Psychic Flare was not being affected by Tenacity. So base physical power increased from 46 to 52, so a little bit of extra poke damage for her just on basic attack. Energy Lance base damage increased from 40, 60, 80, 100, 120 to 60, 90, 120, 150, 180, so a pretty substantial buff in the base damage department of Energy Lance. And then the bonus damage from Energy Lance decreased from 40, 60, 80, 100, 120 to 30, 45, 60, 75, 90. So they're just kind of shifting the power more into the base damage and not on the bonus damage. Energy Lance scaling increased from 40% to 50%. So more damage interaction or more damage coming from magic power, where Energy Lance bonus damage scaling decreased from 40% to 25%. So they're kind of pulling down the bonus damage scaling from Energy Lance and then just buffing more into like the base damage and a little bit of the scaling. So, and then the cooldown is coming down from 20, 18.5, 17, 15.5 to and 14 to 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. So the earlier stages of having Energy Lance, you'll have a little bit more uptime. So maybe you can spam it and be a little bit more oppressive in the like early laning phases. And then as you're actually ranking that up, it's going to just feel the same as it was before. Items, Ruthless Broadsword. This is them bringing Corrode down a little bit. So it's always been a little awkward shaking off those pesky corrode stacks. We're pulling it in line with other stacking conventions, decreasing its potency to help tanks hold their ground slightly better even when being shredded. So corrode physical armor shred magnitude decreased from 5% to 4% per stack. Corrode duration increased from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. So you can actually have the corrode increase on there, but I think the main reason why is because corrode stacks now fall off altogether rather than one at a time. So you got to stay in that window of time, that 3 second window, poking at them to keep the corrode on. Otherwise, it's going to fall off, and it's a little bit less punishing to, be 5% per stack. So Crest, Leaf Song's uptime makes it a little harder to pick up when pitched against other options, so we're letting it be more used leniently to allow easier engagement and disengages. So Phantom Rush cooldown decrease from 120 seconds to 100. Yeah, I never see Leaf Song, so that's probably a good change. Carry, Viper matching the corrode changes. Cool. Assassin, Deathstalker matching the corrode changes. And now let's get into the big carry, or the assassin changes, Malady and Painweaver. Malady is the first on the chopping block for cut to its damage potential. Currently, it's a very powerful first buy because the item scales far too fast. We're decreasing its infinite scaling potential so that heroes don't ramp up too fast on their first few procs. Demise, additional damage per stack decrease from 10 to 5. Let's go ahead and touch on Painweaver first before I get my thoughts. Painweaver is also another very powerful buy for assassins, thus getting a small nerf to its effect to stop certain purple rascals running rampant around the battlefield. So Splice, bonus physical penetration per stack decrease from 4 to 3. Splice, bonus physical or bonus move speed per stack decrease from 4% to 3%. This could have some big implications, right? Malady, Painweaver, often one to, first buy and second buy, or first buy and third buy, depending on where you fit the Painweaver in. Really kind of the core to assassins. So these changes could just bring them down a little bit and slow down their ramping up, or it could really crush them in the meta. So we'll have to wait and see. This is one of those things you definitely just got to keep your eyes on. Like, is it going to be worth playing someone like Kallari and Feng Mao, or are we just going to kind of go back to like more tanks and more bruisers because it's just a little easier to scale them into strength and not have to feel so volatile to pick them? We will see. Fighter, Augmentation. Augmentation is very powerful first item pickup for Crunch and provides too much of a spike relative to his other options. We're toning down its damage potential, which will hopefully directly affect Crunch's currently too powerful early game. I don't really feel that way. I don't ever buy Augmentation first because I think the build path is a little shitty. To first buy it, I think it's a great second buy, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a slap on the wrist for the item. True spike total physical power scaling decrease from 50% to 40%. I think it's a small slap on the wrist, so I don't think it's that bad. It'll still probably be a good second item buy. Basilisk matching the corrode changes, nothing to read there. Mage, Azure Core, with the first item spikes getting taken down a notch, Azure needs similar treatment. This is to help the match the item spikes a bit more so that Azure isn't as overwhelming an option as we decrease the damage potential of other more offensive first buys. So they're just keeping sure that all the changes they make are a little bit consistent. So Arcane Magic maximum mana scaling decrease from 4% to 3.5%, bringing that Azure Core down a little bit because they're bringing other items down. Combustion, another victim of abuse in the early game. Combustion grants a mage too much kill threat on the first item spike, and so is getting nerfs to its initial damage and uptime. The cooldown change should also stop heroes like Howitzer getting off multiple rotations of the effect easily in extended trades. So Pyro base damage decrease from 70 to 55. Pyro cooldown increase from 12 seconds to 15 seconds. That's a pretty big nerf. But again, like you're seeing a consistent theme. You can't really target one thing and be like, wow, that really is going to hurt XYZ hero. They're hitting everything, right? Like they're going to hit tank items in this. They're hitting mage items. They just hit assassin items. They hit carries in the last pass. And ultimately the TTK is going to be affected by this. So I think this is going in the right direction. It's just one of those things you have to feel out. World Breaker is a big offender due to a lot of its interactions, but for now, to wrangle it in line with other options here, we're also increasing its damage potential. So Fiend percent increased magic damage decreased from 4% per stack to 3% per stack. So it's just not going to let you do as much damage. You're still going to be able to get that like health to magic power conversion for damage, but you're not going to do quite as much damage just from the Fiend passive. So I don't think that's going to hurt Worldbreaker too much. It just brings the damage down a little bit, which is kind of the goal of all of these changes. Wraith Leggings, especially alongside Combustion, is providing far too much of a burst spike for mages in the early game. So like a few items today, it's also taking a hit, this time to its burst potential. Carnage percent increased magic damage decreased from 20% to 15%. Yeah, that's a pretty big hit. Tanks, Crystalline Cuirass. Crystalline creates some challenging matchups for heroes like Shinbi and Countess. Yes, it does. Huge counter build item for those. So we're shifting some of its damage output into defensive stats. So more tank, less damage. Health increased from 200 to 275, which is also like a perfect way to affect the TTK to make it longer, right? Like less damage output, more tankiness. It's perfect. Volatile maximum health scaling decreased from 3% to 2%. So yeah, Crystalline Cuirass is that's a fat tank item. Dynamo is also providing too much offensive potential and sees a lot of abuse from support roles due to its powerful shred that keeps our tanks quaking in their booties. Decreasing both the potency and duration should give said tanks more wiggle room when navigating fight against Dynamo users. So Immobilizer percent shred decreased from 30% to 20%. Immobilizer shred duration decreased from 4 seconds to 3 seconds. So they're just nerfing the damage potential on Dynamo, not even compensating with like increased tankiness. They're just bringing that down a little bit. Then we have the bug fixes. Fix an issue where Corrode was not currently applying on Drongo and Grek's passive. Fix an issue where Tainted Guard scaling was incorrect. Very interestingly vague. Fixed an issue where Murdoch's stim pack was cleansing slows. Fixed a bug where passives or phase telekinetic link right mouse button was not playing sound effects. Fixed a bug where debug sphere would appear when spectating players while dead. We saw those little red spheres, and that's all for this week. So friends, there you have it, making the TTK longer, hitting a few different things. These hero changes are pretty nice, though. I think that's definitely going to be a little bit helpful, but we'll see specifically how these specific item changes affect the TTK as a whole, or even target specific roles. If I'm being honest, I think the ones that concern me the most are the Malady Pain Weaver for assassins. That might shove them down, a tier in a tier list, or they could just everything will feel the same because the entire game's TTK changed, right? It may not hurt them at all. We'll have to see. So friends, drop a like on the video and subscribe for future Predecessor content because we are posting videos just about every day. I just got done posting a build guide for every jungler, very similar to how Soul Reaper did one for mid lane. So let me know what you think about that in the comments for that video. I would definitely appreciate it. As always, be sure to comment, tell someone you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.